Welcome back to the Blender 3 Docwalk. This documentation is on buttons. This is basically, if you are not new to computer operating systems, this should not be something that you don't know. You know what I mean? But we'll go over it anyway, just in case. All right, buttons. Operator buttons. Operator buttons perform an action when clicked with the left mouse button. Button may show an icon, text, or both. You can actually set whether or not you want it to show the icon, the text, or both for most buttons within Blender in your preferences. Actually, let's just go ahead and jump into Blender and just kind of go over these really quick. You should be familiar with most of this sort of thing, but I'll go ahead and run some examples anyway. Now, checkboxes, we can find a bunch of checkboxes in the Preferences menu here. Here we go, Interface. Okay, so check, just left mouse click, right? Check, uncheck, check, uncheck. That's the basic functionality. You're turning something off or turning it back on. Okay, next was dragging, being able to change multiple values at once using dragging. Let me show you how that works. We'll go ahead and come back over here again. Let's say I want to change its rotation across all rotation axes at the same time according to the same value. So I'll click my left mouse button down here, starting with Z, and I'll drag up so I'm including Z, Y, and X. Now I'm going to drag sideways. See how it's changing all of them all together all at once. I have selected all of those by dragging up and then changing it. You can do this with, you can do this with all of these. I can do scale, drag and scale all of them. Location, this is going to probably push it off into one quadrant. Actually, let's see here. There we go. So we get a nice diagonal motion there. Okay, this also works with checkboxes as well as like menu headers like this. For instance, if I want to open all of these all at once, I can just click and drag up. So now every single one of them is open. Okay, radio buttons includes any sort of button arrangement where only one of them can be selected at any one time. Up here we have solid. Blender starts defaulted in solid mode here. So solid is selected right here, you see. And next to it we've got wireframe. Okay. On the other side of solid we have material view, and then the next one over is rendered view. Because you cannot select all of them at once, only one can be selected at any one given time. This is called a radio button. So I couldn't find any traditional radio buttons within Blender. For some reason I thought there were some, but however, this is what a traditional radio button looks like. You'll see these on the web and phone apps like it's showing here, all over the place. And you may notice that with radio buttons, you can only select one at a time out of a group of some category of styles or something like that. Just to drop a few more examples within Blender, if we go over here, you can see under instances, there's none, vertices, faces. Those are radio buttons. You can only select one at any given moment. Let's see. There is also, here we go. These are select, basically, well, it toggles how select works. Whether you can just select a bunch of stuff all at once. Anyway, I'm sure we will get to this much later. And let's see, here we go. We have color map types, I suppose. So we've got RGB, RGBA, and black and white. So those are your Blender radio buttons. So any radio button or set of radio buttons, if you just hold Control down while you're hovering over an array of radio buttons, if I hold Control down and use my mouse wheel, it will scroll through the radio buttons like so. And if you noticed, the select styles over here also appears up here in your upper left-hand corner, and that also works with those. So yeah, that's what the documentation refers to as cycling through radio button options. Okay, now down here at the bottom of the documentation, the very last thing that it has listed is the direction buttons. Now, this isn't immediately intuitive, and this is actually something within preferences. So, direction buttons is actually in referring to your light buttons here. So, with your light buttons, you can orient how the light hits objects and from what angle. So, if I click and drag, I'm actually altering how the light is hitting my object. And as the documentation says, if I hold Control down while I do that, it gives me incremented steps. See, click, 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 click. So it does diagonal, vertical, and horizontal snapping. All right, so that is it for this documentation, buttons. I will see you in the next one. Fields.